I shall show you a love potion without a drug, without a herb, without the incantation of any sorceress. If you want to be loved, love. Seneca. 1. Recognize and accept the fundamental differences between men and women. Recognizing and accepting the fundamental differences between men and women is a profound journey of self-discovery and mutual understanding. It's a path that requires us to shed the veil of societal conditioning and embrace the inherent beauty of our contrasting natures. At the core of this principle lies the acknowledgement that men and women are wired differently, both biologically and psychologically. We are distinct compositions of hormones, brain structures, and evolutionary trajectories, each shaping our perceptions, emotions, and behaviors in unique ways. Men are hardwired to be logical, analytical, and solution-oriented. Their minds are geared towards problem-solving, with a tendency to compartmentalize and prioritize tasks. They thrive on accomplishments, competition, and the pursuit of tangible goals, deriving a sense of self-worth from their ability to provide and protect. Women are deeply attuned to the realm of emotions, with an innate capacity for empathy, intuition, and emotional intelligence. Their strength lies in fostering connections, nurturing relationships, and creating a harmonious environment. Women tend to process experiences holistically, seeking emotional understanding and validation. These fundamental differences are not mere stereotypes, but reflections of our evolutionary paths. Men's hunter-gatherer roots instilled a focus on spatial awareness, risk-taking, and physical prowess, while women's roles as nurturers and caregivers shaped their emotional intelligence and need for emotional security. Embracing these differences is not about perpetuating gender roles or limitations. Rather, it's about celebrating the beautiful tapestry of our complementary traits. When we accept and honor these distinctions, we unlock a profound understanding of ourselves and our partners, fostering a deeper appreciation for the unique gifts each gender brings to the table. In relationships, this understanding paves the way for effective communication, mutual respect, and a harmonious dance of give and take. Men can learn to provide the emotional support and validation their partners crave, while women can appreciate their partner's need for space, independence, and problem-solving approaches. Recognizing and accepting the fundamental differences between men and women is a journey of self-discovery and growth. It empowers us to shed the shackles of societal expectations and embrace the richness of our contrasting natures. By celebrating our differences, we create a foundation for deeper connection, mutual understanding, and a more fulfilling coexistence in this beautifully diverse world we share. 2. Improve communication by understanding each other's needs and perspectives. If you seek tranquility, do less. Marcus Aurelius. Communication is the lifeblood of any relationship, and improving it by understanding each other's needs and perspectives is a profound art. It's a delicate dance of empathy, patience, and a willingness to step outside our own shoes and into the world of our partner's experiences. Men and women often speak different languages when it comes to communication. Men tend to be more direct, using fewer words and focusing on solutions. Their minds are wired for problem-solving, and they may inadvertently overlook the emotional nuances that women crave. Women, on the other hand, are masters of emotional expression, seeking validation, empathy, and a deeper connection through conversation. Improving communication requires us to bridge this gap and learn the unique dialects of our partners' hearts and minds. For men, it means cultivating the art of active listening, not just hearing the words, but understanding the emotions behind them. It's about creating a safe space for their partners to express themselves without judgment or the immediate need to fix things. Women, too, must embrace the challenge of understanding their partner's perspectives. They must recognize that men often process emotions internally and may require time and space to articulate their thoughts. Patience and trust are key, allowing their partners to open up at their own pace without feeling pressured or misunderstood. Effective communication also involves acknowledging and respecting each other's love languages. For some, words of affirmation and quality time are paramount, while others thrive on acts of service or physical touch. By understanding and catering to these unique needs, we create an environment where our partners truly feel seen, heard, and appreciated. We must learn to let go of our own agendas, our need to be right, and our preconceived notions. We must embrace the present moment as an opportunity to truly understand and connect with our partners on a deeper level. By improving communication through understanding each other's needs and perspectives, we pave the way for deeper intimacy, mutual respect, and a lasting bond that transcends the boundaries of gender and societal expectations. It's a journey that requires patience, self-awareness, and a commitment to growth. But the rewards are immeasurable. A harmonious dance of love, understanding, and enduring connection. 3. Men tend to be more solution-oriented, while women often seek emotional understanding. When it comes to dealing with problems or difficult situations, there is often a noticeable difference in how men and women tend to approach things. Generally speaking, men are more inclined to jump right into finding a practical solution, whereas women frequently want to first process the emotional aspects. For men, the focus is usually on fixing the issue at hand as efficiently as possible. Their natural instinct is to go into problem-solving mode, analyzing the facts logically to determine the best plan of action to resolve the matter. Men don't typically feel the need to dwell on the emotional factors. They want to get to the root of what's wrong and make it better through decisive steps. Women, on the other hand, have a stronger tendency to first want to talk through and validate the feelings surrounding the situation. Before moving towards a resolution, they often need emotional understanding and connection. Expressing fears, sadness, frustration, or other sentiments, and having those psychological elements acknowledged can help women truly process and make sense of what they are going through. This difference is simply hardwired into the contrasting psychologies of men and women that have developed over millennia of evolution. The male mind is more conditioned for taking direct action, a remnant of ancient times when men primarily had provider roles that necessitated prompt and definitive responses to any threats or problems that arose. Meanwhile, the intricate emotional complexity of the female mind stems from an innate drive to nurture, empathize with, and foster strong interpersonal bonds, critical elements for thriving family and social structures. Of course, these are simply general tendencies, and there are always exceptions. Some men are extremely in touch with their emotional sides, while some women can be very cut-and-dry rational thinkers who prioritize practicality over feeling. Every individual is unique, but in broad strokes, the male inclination towards solutions and the female desire for emotional understanding represent one of the fundamental psychological divergences between the two genders. The key is for men and women to strive to understand and embrace this difference, rather than judge it. If a man can learn to occasionally put the solution obsession on pause to create emotional space for his female partner, it can go a long way. And if a woman can recognize that her male partner's more clinical approach doesn't mean he is devoid of caring, it allows for mutual acceptance. Ultimately, equilibrium comes when the solution-oriented male mind can harmonize with the emotionally oriented female consciousness. With open communication, compassion, and the willingness to accommodate each other's contrasting psychological needs, men and women can powerfully complement one another's strengths. It's about teamwork. 4. Men need time and space to process their thoughts and emotions, while women tend to process by talking things through. One of the profound differences in how men and women operate psychologically lies in their processing methods. For men, the natural inclination is to retreat inward, requiring solitude to fully work through their thoughts and feelings. Women, on the other hand, have a predisposition towards the verbal expression of emotions as their primary processing mechanism. When confronted with emotionally charged situations or internalized conflicts, the typical male response is to go into a reflective isolation mode. Men will often become quiet and withdrawn as they attempt to make sense of the emotional currents stirring within them. This isn't necessarily about shutting others out, but rather a need to turn inward to consciously untangle the cognitive knots in their own headspace first. The simple act of this solitary contemplation, even if no grand epiphany arises, allows men to process tensions and emotional complexities at their own pace. The lack of external input during this isolated analysis enables greater focus and mental clarity. Once the contemplative processing period concludes, most men find themselves in a centered place of understanding. For women, the urge to process emotional energies through audible expression is hardwired. The sharing of feelings, fears, confusion, or any other emotional entities is what creates the cognitive pathway for resolution in the female mind. By engaging the muscles of speech to give voice to their internal experiences, women inherently find catharsis, and their emotions become more tangible. The intimate act of talking through emotional upheavals with others is simultaneously a form of processing and establishing vital emotional connections. Even if the listener doesn't offer profound wisdom, simply having a compassionate ear to hear their poured-out feelings creates space for acceptance and understanding within the self. Ideally, this represents an amazing complementary force between the genders. When women create an environment of openness for men to plumb their interiority before re-emerging as communicative partners, it allows for enriching exchanges of perspectives. The man can share the product of his inward processing, while the woman's value of talk therapy offers highways toward deepened intimacies and mutual enlightenment. Of course, these are tendencies, not hard and fast rules. There are pensive women who require their own solitude, and loquacious men who talk through their emotions. But broadly speaking, the convergence of the masculine processing style of inner retreat and the feminine processing method of outward expression can be beautiful when fully understood. Acceptance of these processing distinctions is key. Neither is inherently right nor wrong. With compassion for each other's cognitive divergences, an atmosphere is created where every individual's mode of working through emotions is embraced as equally valid. This mutual understanding paves the way for partnerships of robustness. 5. Women need to feel loved and appreciated, while men need to feel respected and admired. At the core of every human being lies a fundamental need for validation and affirmation. However, the specific forms that are often needed can differ greatly between genders. For women, the craving is centered on feeling loved and appreciated. For men, the driving force is a hunger for respect and admiration. Women's identities and senses of self-worth are intrinsically tied to experiencing love in their lives. Expressions of deep care, tenderness, and adoration are absolutely vital for a woman's emotional well-being. When a woman feels truly cherished by her partner, family, and friends, it fills an essential psychological reservoir that allows her to thrive. Love, in its myriad forms, is what unleashes a woman's capacity for giving, nurturing, and bringing beauty into the world. Conversely, when a woman exists in a dynamic of unrequited love or feels undervalued and unappreciated, it can trigger profound insecurities and deprivations. The absence of palpable love and affection is experienced as a primal void that corrodes self-confidence and contentment. For a woman to show up as her fullest self, she needs to drink deeply from the well of being loved. For men, the parallel need rests in being respected and looked up to with admiration. At their core, men yearn for the experience of being revered, whether for their skills, accomplishments, wisdom, inner strengths, or other valuable attributes. A man's pride, self-assurance, and sense of matter are all bound to how much authentic respect he feels from others. When a man receives ample respect and is made to feel admired, his self-concept is nourished, and he gains greater access to his nobility. The experience reaffirms his significance and propels him towards even more achievements worthy of admiration. However, when respect is lacking and his value remains unacknowledged, a man can drift into discouragements and disillusionments that drain his ambition. This distinction represents one of the most defining psychological divergences between the genders. While the woman's heart inherently sings for love, the man's spirit inherently yearns for respect. When partners, family, and friends make efforts to understand and cater to these contrasting needs in one another, remarkable opportunities for growth, closeness, and empowerment are created. Of course, both genders need ample servings of love and respect, but specifically addressing the psychological hungers that are more powerfully pronounced for each sex represents the surest pathway to helping them feel completely seen, valued, and free to exist as their most authentic selves. At the highest level, this dance of providing the nurture of love for the feminine and the nurture of respect for the masculine establishes an environment where each gender's emotional life force is prioritized with precision. The mutual gifting of these gendered psychological needs ultimately uplifts and empowers everyone involved to soar into their greatest human potential. 6. Learn to speak each other's language and meet each other's emotional needs. In any close relationship between two people, there exists an inherent communication gap that must be bridged for true understanding and intimacy to flourish. This gap arises from the fact that every individual has their own unique emotional language that they use to give voice to their inner world. The languages we speak to articulate our emotional experiences are profoundly shaped by our genders, upbringings, personalities, life paths, and so much more. A man's emotional vocabulary often looks vastly different from a woman's. One person's language may prioritize words evoking rationality and fortitude, while another's centers on terms connoting vulnerability and tenderness. When emotional languages clash or fail to intersect, it can breed immense frustrations, misunderstandings, and a felt sense of never being truly seen or understood by the other. This serves as the root cause of most interpersonal conflicts and emotional chasms in relationships. The key to remedying this rift lies in making a dedicated effort to learn to speak the other's emotional language fluently. It requires approaching interactions with an anthropological mindset, letting go of the assumption that your way of emoting is universal, while seeking to immerse yourself in the unique expressions of your loved one. For example, a woman yearning for emotional closeness may use language steeped in intimacy, togetherness, and vulnerability. Her partner, unaccustomed to this dialect, could entirely miss the meaning if he remains trapped in his own emotional language, prioritizing independence and rationality. True communion can only arise when he learns to understand her language of intimacy from the inside out. Conversely, a man whose primary love language centers on admiration and accomplishment will struggle to feel truly loved if his partner speaks only in a language of compassion and gentleness. For him to experience the loving affirmation he craves, she must study his language and find ways to express her love through that tongue of respect. The journey of learning each other's emotional language is one that never fully ends. As human beings, our modes of expression are constantly evolving based on circumstances, growth, and shifting needs. What's essential is maintaining a beginner's mindset of curiosity, never assuming you've grasped the entirety of your loved one's inner world, while remaining ever eager to expand your emotional vocabulary in their language. With diligent practice, reciprocal patience, and a willingness to get a little uncomfortable at times, any two people can become bilingual in their emotional communication. The rewards are immense: a deepened capacity for intimate sharing, reduced conflicts through mutual comprehension, and the sensation of being fully seen and understood by your loved one. Taking the time to gain fluency in each other's emotional language represents the purest form of love, for it is the grandest gift to make the effortful journey into someone else's inner world and vow to not only understand, but to speak their native emotional tongue as naturally as your own. Through this, you open the sacred doors to a lifetime of profound relationships. 7. Avoid making assumptions and practice active listening. In any relationship, be it romantic, familial, or platonic, one of the greatest pitfalls we can fall into is the trap of making assumptions about the other person's thoughts, feelings, and needs. When we operate based on assumptions rather than seeking true understanding, it lays the groundwork for miscommunication, resentment, and emotional disconnect. The antidote to this toxic pattern lies in the practice of active listening, giving our full presence and genuine curiosity to comprehending the depth of another's experience without filters or preconceptions. It requires displaying an open heart and mind, free of the arrogance that we already know what someone else is going through. So often, we fall into the habit of projecting our own backgrounds, belief systems, and emotional makeups onto those around us. A man might assume a woman's emotional landscape operates identically to his own, failing to account for variations in her socialization, biology, or personal history that shape her inner world. Conversely, a woman may incorrectly presume she understands the origins of a man's behaviors and motivations through her own female-tinted lens. These assumptions, however unintentional, erect formidable barriers to genuinely connecting. They cause us to stop philanthropically exploring the depths of those we care about, falling back instead on reductive stereotypes about how the other gender tends to experience reality. In this fractured state of assumed knowledge, we lose access to the raw specificity of what makes each human being beautifully unique. The practice of active listening tears down these barriers by centering the virtues of patience, humility, and insatiable inquisitiveness. It is the act of temporarily suspending your own identity to solely focus on receiving the totality of another's words, inflections, and bodily emanations with full-scope attunement. Only once you've allowed their experience to land without filters or judgments can you begin to ask clarifying questions to endlessly deepen your understanding. True, active listening requires shedding the need to project your assumptions onto others. It's about opening a restful silence within yourself to receive the nuances and complexities of how someone else's inner world has been custom sculpted by their individual dancers with joy, trauma, heredity, circumstance, and the vast experiential container of lives prior to your crossing paths. With assumptions relinquished, you can then experience the intimate joy of seeing someone's soul exclusively through their own emotive language. The profound details of their narratives and emotional riptides are allowed to land, unobstructed by your own projections. In this space of deep listening, the other person feels profoundly heard, understood, and appreciated for their singularity. This level of attuned presence represents the highest form of love, care, and respect. By continually nurturing the capacity to eschew assumptions and receive another with a beginner's mind, we not only enrich our relationships, but keep opening up vast new dimensions of empathy and wisdom within ourselves. Listening, truly listening, to the depths of those around us is to listen to the whispers of the entire universe. 8. Cultivate patience and empathy in your relationship. There will inevitably be times of frustration, conflict, and difficulty understanding each other's perspectives. During these challenging moments, it's easy to get caught up in negative emotions and lose sight of what truly matters. This is when the virtues of patience and empathy become absolutely essential. Patience is about giving your partner the time and space they need without judgment or angst. It means recognizing that every person moves through emotions and processes situations at their own unique pace. Trying to force anything before one is truly ready only breeds more tension. With patience, you create an open arena for your partner to fully feel and express themselves, trusting that understanding and resolution will emerge organically. Empathy involves making a concerted effort to step outside yourself and inhabit the experiential world of your partner. It requires pulling back the lens of your own biases, projections, and assumptions in order to clearly see the nuanced realities of what your loved one is going through. Only through empathy can you begin to make sense of their emotional landscape and where they're coming from. These two intertwined qualities are extraordinarily difficult to uphold in the heat of relational conflicts. Our natural human instincts are to respond to miscommunications and hurts by going into self-protection mode. We get defensive, make harsh judgments, issue demands, and stop trying to understand our partner's internal world. Maintaining patience and empathy in these testing times takes immense conscious commitment. It involves remaining devoted students of each other, suspending our bruised egos, and continually asking ourselves, how can I walk a few miles in their shoes? What am I missing here about their heart's reality? The payoff is that this stance instantly breaks through stagnant cycles of fighting and transforms molehills into mountains. Patience creates the chamber for privately processing and self-soothing, while empathy prevents further inflaming situations with knee-jerk responses stemming from a lack of understanding. This fosters an environment of mutual trust, safety, and respect for each person's inherent worth. Your partner learns that, even in tough moments, you remain fundamentally open to them. This plants the seeds for much richer relationships and increasingly effortless compassion. Of course, no couple achieves perfect empathy and infinite patience. Even the healthiest partnerships will unavoidably hit rocky patches. What's important is possessing the humility and discipline to keep recommitting to these practices, no matter how demanding. It's only through weathering storms with empathy and patience that the most gorgeous rainbows of growth and intimacy can emerge. The greatest relationships are living testaments to the power of celebrating our differences, not merely tolerating them. View your partner's processes as sacred opportunities to breathe more patience. In doing so, you water the garden of your bond, which flourishes brilliantly. 9. Embrace and appreciate the differences between you and your partner. You are two unique individuals shaped by diverse backgrounds, personalities, and perspectives. Rather than viewing these differences as obstacles, the healthiest approach is to embrace and appreciate them as opportunities for growth, understanding, and enrichment. All too often, couples fall into the trap of resenting their partner's divergent qualities or trying to change them. A tidy home may clash with a more relaxed attitude towards cleaning. One partner's need for quality time could feel overbearing to someone who craves more independence. Differences in communication styles, love languages, conflict resolution approaches, and more can spark frustration. However, when you choose to appreciate these differences rather than reject them, you open up a world of exciting new perspectives. Your contrasting qualities become complementary forces that bring balance and expanded awareness to the relationship dynamic. For example, an introvert can appreciate how their extroverted partner pulls them out of their shell, exposing them to new social circles and experiences they may have missed. In turn, the extrovert can value how their quieter partner provides a peaceful oasis of calm amidst the hustle and bustle. Where one is spontaneous, the other's prudence prevents reckless decisions. An analytical mind is balanced by a partner's heart-centered emotionality. The key is to approach your differences with a sense of curiosity rather than judgment. Work to understand the core positive intent behind qualities that may befuddle you. Ask open-ended questions to shine light into the darkness of assumptions. Seek to appreciate how your partner's distinct way of being, thinking, and moving through the world emanates from their own unique genetic wiring and lifetime of profound experiences that you can never fully replicate or understand. Of course, this is an arduous path that requires diligent mindfulness. Our primitive minds are conditioned to perceive contrast as a threat to our own ways. But with dedication to the journey of integration, you begin cherishing the miraculous tapestry of your combined perspectives. You delight in the visible and invisible ways your differences catalyze your expansion. Most importantly, you come to intimately know and revere your partner as the beautifully irreplicable being they are. For a relationship to endure and thrive, embrace the bumpy roads that diverging dispositions create. Hold a space of understanding, not angst. Find the wisdom in your differences. By appreciating how you complement, balance, and awaken each other through your distinctions, you forge an unbreakable bond grounded in radical growth and self-discovery. 10. Develop a willingness to compromise and find common ground. No two people are exactly alike, which means disagreements and differing perspectives are inevitable in any close relationship. Rather than viewing this as a negative, it can actually be an opportunity for growth if both partners embrace the art of compromise. Compromise requires each person to let go of the need to be completely right or have things go entirely their way. It's about finding the middle ground that works for both of you, even if it means temporarily sacrificing parts of what you want for the greater good of the relationship. A willingness to compromise shows that you respect and value your partner's needs, boundaries, and points of view as much as your own. It demonstrates an openness to truly listen without ego and then collaborate to reach a resolution that feels reasonably fair to everyone involved. This isn't always easy. Our natural tendency is to dig our heels in and insist our perspective is the only correct one. Adopting an "I'm right, you're wrong" mentality halts productive dialogue and deepens the divide. Fruitful compromise requires checking your pride and acknowledging that your partner's stance likely has validity too, even if you don't fully agree with it. The path of compromise is one of creative problem-solving fueled by empathy. It means actively listening to comprehend the deeper needs underlying each other's positions. From that space of openness, you can have thoughtful discussions exploring possible solutions that address both partners' core needs in creative ways. An overarching willingness to compromise prevents minor issues from becoming major resentments that slowly erode at the foundation of intimacy. It demonstrates that your love and respect for each other transcend any single disagreement. The humility to bend while still remaining true to your authentic self is what allows relationships to thrive through inevitable storms. The capacity to compromise is a crucible for personal growth as well. Stretching outside your comfort zone teaches you to become more flexible, solution-oriented, and adept at considering perspectives beyond your own. Done with care, it breeds greater patience, emotional intelligence, and collaborative skills that pay dividends in all areas of life. In essence, a spirit of compromise cultivates fertile ground where mutual understanding can bloom into an enriching partnership. It's not about diminishing yourselves, but unlocking new levels of teamwork and care that fortify the incredible journey you share together. Relationships thrive when you embrace differences instead of resisting them. Learn each other's emotional languages, her need for understanding, his need for respect. Like and subscribe for more wisdom on living your best life.